Could be undercover officers or off-duty officers or on assignment somewhere else. They may, or, as in the top photo there, in uniform. Sac PD, you might have Sac Sheriff, you might have Los Rios Community College law enforcement. You could have any multitude of law enforcement professionals responding to this incident. They all come running when the word's out, okay? They're going to be armed. Picture down below, they may have helmets on, they may have vests on. Outside their clothing, they may have long rifles. Those are long rifles, those assault weapons, as they've been calling them in the media. Law enforcement calls them a long rifle. They could have shotguns or handguns. And I would wager that they're going to have a combination of all that. They're going to shout and scream or commands, right? Well, cops like to do that. They like to scream at people and let you know that they're in charge. That's okay. And they're going to push individuals to the ground for their safety. Why are they going to push individuals to the ground? Okay, I'll give you an example. I'm the law enforcement guy. The threat's back there. You're all coming at me, right? And what are you doing? You're like this, right? Now, we come in all sizes. So now I'm looking for the threat because you're running this way, and I know the threat's got to be back there somewhere because you wouldn't be running to the threat. You're running away from it. I can't see the threat. So if Tyler's the threat, and you're all standing up with your hands in that, I can't see the threat, Tyler. But if I get you to the ground and tell you all, lay down, get on the ground, and I'm screaming and yelling at you to get on the ground, when you're all on the ground, guess what? I can see the threat behind you. Now I know the threat's there, now I know what to do and I can focus on that threat. Okay, kind of follow that? You understand? They're not trying to get you to lay in the dirt and the mud so they can talk about you later and everything else, going, ha ha, that person dove in the mud puddle. No, that isn't what it's about. It's about your safety and the officer's safety too. So they know who's who in the zoo. They go, oh, look. Or Tyler can run with his hands like this too and have his guns hidden, and we wouldn't know any different. He'd run by us. But that's the big reason, is why they put people on the ground, is so they can see past you and get that clear field of view, what's going on beyond you, and eliminate the threat. We stop the threat, we have no emergent situation, you're safe, law enforcement's safe, the public's safe, and we go about our day. Okay, reacting to law enforcement. Try to remain calm. I know you're not going to remain calm. Try. Put down any items. Again, I can't stress this enough. Get the things out of your hands. Don't carry things in your hands. Keep them up so law enforcement can see them, that you're not a threat to them, and avoid quick movements and pointing and shouting. Hey, my partner's over there. My supervisor's over here injured, laying on the ground. You know, I saw him run out on Meadowview 10 minutes ago. They don't need to know that. They're getting updates. They're focused on that threat. Let them do their job. And then proceed in the direction they tell you. So if you're all coming at me this way away from the threat, and I may know something, I may have heard on the radio, whatever, that there's some other threat over here, I may direct you and say, go that way. Now's not the time for the type A personality people that like to say, wait a minute, I was taught in class to go this way. Just do what they ask you to do. Worry about it later, because they may have some really updated information that you don't have, that there could be another threat, or all the law enforcement's coming in that way. So if you go that way, you're going to hinder their response. Just do what they tell you. They're going to put you in a safe location. They go through hours and hours and hours of training as individuals and as teams on how to respond to an active shooter incident. 911 calling you again?
Not me.
Okay. Well, once the situation's winding down, meaning it's getting controlled and that, law enforcement's going to set up a controlled area. We're going to collect everybody that was involved in the incident, and they're going to interview you. Whether you heard something, whether you saw something, they want that information so they can put that puzzle together. Okay? They may move you from this site. We'll use this venue. They may remove you from this site and take you somewhere else to reunify you with coworkers, family members, other investigators, and such. It's called a reunification center. Schools try to practice this. They don't really get to do it this much, but that's, you know how if there's an incident at a school, all the parents get emotional, which is understandable, and they go to the school and want their child. It's easier for the schools and less chaotic at the school, and this is what the staff has to do, if you start a reunification center and have all the parents meet you there, and then once the kids are safe in a safe environment, you know who's who and the kids and that, they can reunite you with those kids at the reunification center. Because then they have to ID you and the kid, make sure they're not giving you somebody else's child. So I understand it's hard to understand this when you're emotional and it's dealing with children, but there's a reason for the reunification centers. There's a reason for that, is to take that chaos, it's already happening, and not add to it, but to remove it from that situation to a more controlled environment. Once you're there at a reunification area or an area where they're doing interview, don't leave until law enforcement says it's okay. It may be noon and your stomach's growling because you want that, Starbucks and a scone or something else. Stay there, okay? They need to get that information. Okay, how do we prepare for this? In preparation for all this type of event happening at your facility, we need to recognize those indicators of workplace violence, which we talked about in June. We also have that emergency action plan that Ken's going to be talking about. They're at every work facility. Hopefully they'll be on electronic and we'll have hard copies, but we encourage you to read the policies. They're updated on an annual basis, and I'm kind of getting into Ken's thing. He'll explain all that. We conduct annual training. We're doing awareness training today. We did it in June for workplace violence. Hopefully we'll be able to continue this type of training based on your feedback and enhance the training, make it more robust, update it, and then get into having exercises, not pop quizzes. We're not going to run somebody through the building shooting off firecrackers or blank guns, but a controlled exercise where you learn and administration learns, law enforcement learns, and we fill any gaps that we may be coming across. Okay? Exercises are good. Okay, what are some indicators of workplace violence? Remember we talked about warning signs of escalating behavior, that confusion, the person's confused, can't focus on their work, the frustration, overloaded in work, or somebody's not helping them out and such, the blame, the anger, all the way up to hostility and physical aggression. Okay, may come from a former employee. I stated 3% of former employees come back and create a situation, a violent act at the workplace. Could be a client, customer, manager, supervisor. Actually, in the statistics, they said 21% of the managers or supervisors have issues. So, it can come from anybody, family member coming to your workplace, domestic partner, such. You recall this slide? We talked about discourtesy, handling it one-on-one when there's conflict between two employees. Maybe get the supervisor involved if need be, and handle it at the lowest level. Active shooter has escalated this all the way up to physical aggression. Now they're out there assaulting people and committing crimes. Okay, emergency action plan, and again, he's going to be talking about this in a bit. Identifies those measures to prepare you to respond to an emergency at your facility. And he will explain that. They're not done in a vacuum. They're not done by one person. There's input from HR training, facility managers, building managers, emergency management, property managers, local fire and law. It's there to protect you, and it basically gives you a roadmap of what to do in this situation, different situations. Again, I encourage you to review that. We also have special needs, any type of special needs. So it could be hearing, mobility impaired, speech impaired, where they don't understand our language and that. Try to help those people. Again, if you can get them to a safe location, get them to a safe location. Take them out with you in that run scenario. If you can't, then go to hide mode. Get them in a room that's with a locked door where they can have access, you know, a safe haven. Let somebody else know where they are. Hey, the person that came to work on the crutches with the cast is in the kitchen area here, locked in, you know, they're safe. Well, let somebody know that they're there, so when everybody starts clearing the building, as law enforcement calls it, they don't bypass that person because they're being quiet and they're hiding. And then 2 days later, they come out because they're hungry. Yeah. Okay, training. We have training going on. Identifying the sounds of gunfire or just out of the norm noises. Peculiar behavior, people running and screaming and shouting and running down the hallways, slamming doors, and whatever the case is. How do we react when law enforcement arrives? Also adopting that survival mindset during a crisis. What am I going to do? Am I going to run, hide, or fight? Where's my second exit? How am I going to notify people where I am? 911. Leave the phone on if necessary. Okay, post-incident follow-up, managing consequences and lessons learned. Determine who's missing. Remember we talked about in June about a system going in Hirsch where we badge in and badge out. Well, in an active shooter situation, we're all not going to line up at the door and badge out. That doesn't work. So if we know that there's 20, 30 of you in this room, or in this building rather, then we know when the first responders come in and start searching for folks, we know that they're going to be looking for at least 20 or 30 people. If we have 20 or 30 people outside collected, we know that there may be nobody in here, so we're not going to send first responders in here and put them in harm's way because we have all of our people. So that badging in helps because we electronically can capture that information of who's all here and get a nose count. It helps manage the consequences. We're also determining a method for notifying families. Do we have emergency data cards where whoever you want notified, is that on there? Do we have what hospital you want to go to if you're injured? If it's not emergent, life-threatening, usually they'll take you to the nearest hospital. But if you live in, let's say, Placerville, and it's not life-threatening, you may want to go to Marshall Hospital, where your family is, where you're closer to home, and not down here in South Sacramento. So do we have that information available? If not, we'll try to get it. And then do we have employee assistance intervention? And I think one of the large ones here is on the very bottom. Identify and fill critical positions and operational gaps. When supervisors are off, do we have a succession plan to fill that position? Because folks are used to coming to supervisors. When there's no supervisor that day, who are they going to go to? Can we fill? We do it. It's done at the management level. The director was off 2 weeks for 2 weeks. He came back this week. Last 2 weeks he was off, and they had some of the bosses. One boss filled in during 1 week, one filled in during the other week, so they can make decisions on behalf of the department, and people backfilled in behind them. So do we have that plan? Is it crucial? Absolutely. But that's what we need here is a succession plan. Lessons learned, document what happened. Also what was good, what failed. Hey, we were notified each other, we have a notification system. People were safe, they got notified in a hurry that there was an active shooter going on outside. They knew what to do, run, hide, or fight. But we failed in some other little areas, so we need to document that and go back and revisit that. Get some more training and exercise and update the plan. What works? What worked versus not work? That's how we are successful. It's a complete cycle. Okay, resources, again, DHS.gov. You can find a lot on active shooter there. There's a lot of reading. There's been studies on it. There's videos. And review. Run, hide, and fight. If you can get out, get out. Leave your belongings, keep your hands visible. Let law enforcement know that you're not the threat. Okay, if you're gonna hide, find a place to hide. Block the entry, lock the doors, put heavy objects in front of the doors, draw the blinds, turn off the lights, spread out in the room, quiet. If it's safe to do so, get a hold of 911. If it's not safe, call 911, leave your phone on, so they can hear what's going on in that room. They may be able to pick up noises in the hallway or such. If all else fails, fight. Physical aggression, commit to your acts, use what you have available to you. And again, when it's safe to do so, call 911. Let them know what's going on, where you are, what you see, and what you hear. In summary, have a plan. Wherever you go, home, out and about, work, have a plan. Know your environment. You folks know your environment here because you're able to tell me, going through different doors, where they go, where they lead. Know your environment. When you're at the mall, you always go in the same door all the time. You know that there's other exits. Or when you go to a restaurant, or a Sleep Train Arena, or the convention center downtown, do you know of other exits? Where's your nearest? Take note of your nearest 2 exits so you can get out. Know your resources. Know what you have available to you. I have a cell phone. I have a pocket knife. I have whatever the case is. Create that time shielding and distance. Get that distance between you and that threat and shield yourself from that threat. Shelter in place goes with hiding. Defend yourself goes with fighting. Notify law and fire. Call out when it's safe. Always call out when it's safe. Call 911. Questions, comments, concerns, complaints? Notice the person next to you, make sure they're awake.